We have a chat. I'll read it. A lot of people are saying hello to Judge Stevens. One of my favorites. Good evening, Judge. Great to see you.
It's an
I don't.
honor to be here. Honor.
Somebody said you're his first judge. Yeah, everyone's saying hello. They are so excited.
I
And
am excited.
it's so much fun because, and I am so glad. I have to call out one person, and that's American Courts, because I was trying to get silly with all of my titles and my thumbnails, and he said, no, no, these are judges. Just get it out there. Just say what it is.
Wow.
And I redid everything, and I was so proud of it because I wasn't proud of it before. So now you can be proud of what's out there. And some of your quotes, I'm loving it that people are just really watching what you have to say.
I'll be darned. I make all that up.
Ooh, somebody's here from Sydney, Australia. Somebody says, love to watch you. You're too nice sometimes. You're the best. Love you. I don't know if you can see the live chat. Do you have a
No,
thing on the right that says live chat?
okay.
Click on that, and then you're going to see everybody.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So now you can see everything.
Can I just tell you something? I love
Yeah.
it.
Dave, go ahead.
I love it. How you make people dress when they go to court.
Dress.
I love it. It's just, I mean, it's like, I mean, you're not going to work and you're not going to a job interview, but it's almost like, and you're not going to church, but you're
Yeah.
going someplace you have to be respectable. So,
Well, this Monday there was a defendant who walks up. I mean, a defendant charged with a criminal case where generally I'm making the decision over the person's future, and he had a shirt which had vulgarity written across the front of the shirt. And I asked him, "Would you wear that at church?" "Oh, no, I wouldn't." I said, "Well, this isn't church, but isn't it res- supposed to be respectful? I mean, this is the Constitution. We're at work." And it kind of flew over his head. He says, "Well, this is what I wear." I said, "Not in this room. No, sorry. And in fact, I don't want you wearing that in the courthouse. You've got to leave and come back with a decent shirt." And he came back with a nicer shirt. But this was an adult that had to be told not to wear vulgarity in public, and much less in a courtroom where he's charged with a felony offense and where he could be going to prison. And just the lack of understanding and appreciation of the importance of the whole environment. Sometimes I just don't understand. But a lot of the people are in my courtroom because they do not make wise choices. And so we help them. And many of them, most, are capable of making the right choice, but they've lost a discipline in their behavior, or they never had it in the first place. But 85% of the people on probation are successful. And I think I told that to Jen one time. And the national average is 70. And in our county, we have very dedicated staff of probation officers who are dedicated to ensuring that the probationers are successful, but they still have to carry the weight and they've got to do the rowing, the defendants. But we're going to help them along the way. But I'm very proud of that is double the national average, really, from 70 to 85 percent. It's a double of the 30% failure rate is 15, and that's about as good as we can get, because unfortunately some people just never end up fixing their mistake properly and wisely. But we have a great success, and we're very proud of the work we do together with the probation office and then defendants. I get a lot of feedback, like you do, I'm sure, Jen and Dave, of how much they appreciate the fact that they've come to learn and self appreciate their own dignity and self worth, and their decisions are better and they're more respectful to others. But most importantly, they make better choices so that they are not a failure. That's what we want. I wish everybody could come across the finish line first, but
I, it's amazing. I'd say one thing, Sparkle. Now, Judge, Your Honor, I'd say something. Some of the screen names now we can't control that. Okay, just let you know. But Sparkle Poots, thank you so much for the super chat. That is awesome, Judge Stevens. You are awesome. Saw that T-shirt. You are 100% correct. Thanks for that. Just have to point that out and take a shout out. Thank you very much.
Somebody wants to know what your take on marijuana is.
I don't use it, and it's against the law here in most of the areas of the jurisdictions. But what we're finding today, we ended up with a 75-year sentence in a case of an aggravated assault, and the defendant was on synthetic marijuana when he shot his stepdaughter in the back, 13-year-old stepdaughter in the back, and he claimed temporary insanity from synthetic marijuana. The point I'm making about it is you just don't know what's in marijuana out there nowadays. And the people who are manufacturing and getting it out on the markets, you don't know what they're putting in it. You don't know where the manufacturers of some of these products, what they've done. And we have terrible types of crimes with phencyclidine, for example, PCP. My God, that's used to embalm animals.
Yep.
Why anybody would put that in their system? But in this case, it was synthetic marijuana, and then the defendant said he blacked out and he thought he was being attacked by animals and insects and others. And now the jury didn't buy that because it was violent. He went and bought it from a clandestine lab, and he knew that he was taking a chance. But when we're talking about marijuana, that's what I see daily. It's and you don't know what it's mixed with.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
That is a problem. Even if you're condoning marijuana, you don't know what the lab did when they put it all together, and it can cause people to shoot 13-year-olds in the back. So the best way is to the safest thing to do is stay away from illegal drugs, because you don't have control over what is in them, and it's not an excuse when you later find out, well, it caused me to do a weird thing. If you voluntarily consumed it, you took the risk, and you're going to have to pay a price if it ends up hurting people or it's a crime.
Yep. No. Well, I know down here we live in Florida, Central Florida, and we have it here legally for medicinal purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still
Texas,
illegal. That's the thing.
Texas does too, and Texas does as well. And I've had some cases where it has been prescribed, especially for cancer patients, especially end of time, and anything that I don't want them out there driving a 4,000-pound missile on the interstate. But if that can make them feel better at the end stages of their life, that's humane to me. So
well, it's just like with alcohol. You can't be driving with it. You can't be high and driving a car. Come on now, you get a DUI just like if you're drinking a 6-pack of beer.
And so, if you happen
I'm sorry.
And if you happen to crash into somebody, and this is what we get, and people go, it's a DWI. What I have to deal with as felonies is instances where people kill others in a car crash, and they were intoxicated. Well, that's a second-degree felony of manslaughter in Texas. I've done this for 17 years, 17 and a half years as a judge. Every jury verdict, when it's gone to a jury trial, and I've had maybe 15 of those, everyone received 20-year sentences, the maximum amount by a jury. A jury doesn't tolerate that.
Wow.
And really, it is kind of selfish to get high and get in a car wreck and get in a vehicle, but you've got to think of all the people you're putting in harm's way. And what we see in the circumstances of those cases are heartbreaking, because generally the victims are innocent people who were like on their way to church or children in a car. And those are the heartbreaking things. And that happens over and over again. And the people who are charged with a crime, they're sorrowful. They express remorse, but you can't bring a life back.
Yeah, that's correct.
Anyway, I don't want to
So
be
we
depressed here, but that's what we see. The worst, felony cases. Those are the worst cases, and we've got to put people back together. Whether it's the defendants who are all messed up because they're making bad choices, victims who are involved, who are harmed and were innocent, in for the most part, in being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you help people, and that's what I'm supposed to do. Help people be the best they can be.
All right. Well, somebody wants to know, and I don't know if this is something that you want to talk about. Yeah, somebody said
yeah,
projectile
that's it's
missile because we hear you say that all the time. And let's see, does it shock you when the pro se defendants win their cases? Lone Wolf wants to know.
I'm surprised because there's not an advantage to doing that, I don't think. I think it's a better idea to have a trained professional helping you legally, because you're not supposed to have an advantage by being ignorant in the law. And we can't help but help people along, because if not, we would be stuck in a trial for a long time if we didn't move some things along. But some pro se defendants have been effective. It's not often. It's not often, but we had one not long ago, and it was very, very. He did an unwise thing. He called his attorney to the stand, who he had fired. Well, when
Oh,
that happened, he calls him to the stand. Well, then you lose your confidentiality, and he essentially asked the lawyer, "Well, do you think I'm guilty?" Which is not the question that should be asked, but there was not an objection made. I let the lawyer answer it, and the lawyer's response was, "You told me you did it." There was a hung jury in spite of that. So
really?
anything can happen. I think there were 3 or 4 jurors who hung on that case in spite of that
Wow.
evidence coming out. I mean, it's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get in any trial. You really don't. You have some predictions that I tend to make as I'm following along and going, I think this one is going to end up this way because I can see where this is headed. But 12 jurors can certainly trick you sometimes. And it only takes one to hang. And that's our worst. That's what we hate, where there's 92% of the jury voted one way, and then that one other percent did not go along with the rest of the
Wow.
group. But it's allowed, and that's unanimity. It goes back to the Bible with the 12 apostles. It's sacred. But what happens is you go, there's a week of our life we'll never have back, and we're going to have to retry it. And I get 50 new cases every week. I can only try one a week, and even if 85% of those or 90% of those cases were disposed of by other than a trial, I get behind. And that's what speaking for all judges, we get real frustrated when there's a hung jury because we want a unanimous decision one way or the other.
Right.
And I
So
can
here's
live with it either way. I just want to move on, and I don't want to pay for the same real estate twice.
right. Here's
Hatton said.
another question that we're always talking about. Can you define a sovereign citizen?
Well, I guess just by the usage of the word, they're certainly unique people, and one of a kind, as it was. But the at the end of the day, we're all in this together, whether people want to be a part of it or not. We're all in this together, and whether you're Florida, United States of America, Texas, United States of America, and we're under the same Constitution, and we have the same rights and privileges, and it's what we make of it, though. That's what's built into the system. It's what we make of it, and people can certainly be independent and still be part of the team and become the best they can be with the characteristics and gifts that they were given. And that's what's good about the way it works. And I believe everybody should be independent. I've got relatives. I have relatives who are twins, identical twins, and they're as different as can be. So that's what's wonderful about the world. But the rules are built in to all people being able to seek their dreams in their own way, as long as they harm no one, live honestly, and give each person their due respect. All law. Jen and I talked about this. That was Cicero wrote that 2,000 years ago. William Blackstone, the great jurist from England, for which most of our jurisprudence we adopted, recited that. And it is the cornerstone of all law. Every law has one, two, or all three of those components to it. But we like to print paper and we like to write. Legislature likes to make laws, and but you can boil it all down to those three factors. And if you follow that rule in life, you will be greatly loved and greatly successful.
I love it.
I need to do some quick shout outs real quick. Sparkle Poots, Original Alexa, Legal Fiction. Thank you so much for the memberships gifting.
You guys
Really
are
appreciate
amazing.
it. There
I
was
have
a
to say,
question. There was a question real quick that Mr. Steve Bennett asked about what kind of mints are you munching on during court? What kind of mints do you?
Altoids and
There you go.
Mentos. Also, I throw in gummy bears.
Oh, gummy bears, yummy.
Yeah, because I got to be careful. I've got to be careful. Sometimes you want to bite hard, and if it's a gummy bear, your teeth are saved. But if it's mints, it's generally Altoids and Mentos. But I throw in. I was eating a lot of gummy bears during this aggravated assault case.
I bet.
I'll bet. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
Wow.
can't go wrong with a good gummy bear. That's
there's going to be some kind of gummies delivered to your court, I have a feeling. Also,
Uh-oh.
you guys, I have to tell you, thank you. Judge Stevens,
wait.
there
What's
are
Dave
more.
eating? Is Dave eating a gummy bear?
What
No,
is
I'm
it?
eating a grape. I'm sorry. Snacking. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
we forgot to get the cake out also.
Oh,
Okay. So I have to say, there are more people here than ever at one of my lives, and they're all here because I told everyone that you were coming, and they were so excited.
No,
And
you do me the honor. I
no,
appreciate the kindness and the support, and I understand a lot of people follow what we do in the courtroom. We, unfortunately, in our county, we are the 22nd largest county in the state of Texas, but we have the 12th highest crime rate. So we stay busy in felony courts. And I've just finished today my 560th jury trial.
Wow.
So
560
amazing.
felony jury trials, which I think is a world record. But that's what I promised I would do, was work hard and move cases. But it's just when you get 50 more every week,
that
you
is
get
why I
behind.
have no
When you
idea.
can only try
Crazy.
one a week, you can see the numbers work against you. But we work hard to do that, and that's the way things get done. People have a right to their day in court, and if they want to, and we don't want that to be, especially with COVID behind us now. We got 3 years behind, and we're trying to catch up, like most of the courts are. They're all working hard, I believe, to try to catch up from that terrible time where we got behind, and so we're having to play catch up.
So Miss Muriel, if I got the name right here, Muriel LaConte Hunt, shout out. She asked, what kind of occupations did your parents have when you were growing up, like your father, or mother?
Now, if you had watched the full interview, you would know what his dad did. Just saying.
I have memory issues, baby. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
No, not you. I'm thinking. You gotta watch
my father had gifts, and my mother had gifts, but she was a wonderful homemaker, and her maiden name was Donnelly. She was an Irish lady, and she's still alive, and in a retirement home. But my father passed away, and he was a gifted man. He was a local entertainer. He was in radio and television, and he had a photographic memory, and that's something I just was always impressed with. But my father was worked with the NBC affiliate here in Southeast Texas, and he was very popular because he was he had a show for kids in a Western. He played the bad guy, Black Bart, and Cowboy John was the good guy. And my father was the nemesis. But Dad was a practical joker, and they were both very famous in Southeast Texas. In fact, they're in the Smithsonian Institute in the division dealing with of American history, dealing with early television. And then he became a banker when he moved on from television, but he did his own commercials for the bank, dressed up as an elderly lady, Granny Groves from Groves, Texas, and it did other personalities. But my father had wonderful gifts that I always admired, and my mother was a wonderful lady. My dad was one of the funniest men, great sense of humor. He was the youngest of 10 children, and he claimed that he joined the Navy so he could sleep with fewer people. I mean, you can't make that kind of stuff up. He could make me laugh. He was a funny man, and I miss him greatly. And I believe I got elected because most of the people thought they were voting for my father.
That's funny.
So we have so many questions.
Yeah,
so
we got a couple super.
I don't know how we're going to
too.
get through all of them. So Lone Wolf wants to know.
You know how you do it, Jen? One at a time.
There we go. Do individual judges have lenience with allocutions in cases? Can you read what's on the screen? Then I don't have to read it.
Something.
Can you? Is it okay for you to read things like the 10 Commandments? Do you get in trouble for that? I guess that's basically. Do you have lenience?
Okay. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Do individual judges have lenience with allocution in cases with regards to quoting religious things like the 10 Commandments?
Give me an example of what.
Will somebody get mad at you if you say the 10 Commandments because it's religious and they say separation of church and state kind of thing?
So, like, say you quote one of the 10 Commandments, would that get you in trouble?
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
because Judeo-Christian law, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the presumption of innocence, beyond a reasonable doubt, those are all Bible-based. My goodness. Presumption of innocence is founded upon the Old Testament when our Creator is moving through the Garden of Eden and calls Adam and Eve forward. What have you done? We look at that as if our Creator gave Adam and Eve a chance to be heard before rendering the decision that would affect all humans' lives later on. Then we humans should do no less to a fellow human. And that's the presumption of innocence. That's where that came from the Old Testament. Now, the New Testament, book of Matthew, judge not lest ye be judged. Early jurors were told, go back and make a decision. And they were worried, the book of Matthew, New Testament, we're going to go to burn because we're making decisions over others' lives, and judge not lest ye be judged. Came up with the standard of proof of beyond a reasonable doubt. So that jurors, and that came about in the first time that's ever recorded is 1770 in the Boston Massacre trial, where 6 patriots were shot by English soldiers. They went to trial, and in that trial, it's first recorded proof should be beyond a reasonable doubt. And that was at a time in the 18th century where John Locke and the reasonableness standard was catching on in England and adopted in America. So they used a reasonable basis. But that was used in that trial. That's the first time we can go back in history and find the usage of a standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And it was used from that time. Very interesting. Another story, the first person killed in the Boston Massacre, the first person killed that you could say was the first person who sacrificed their life for the Declaration.
I know this. I heard it this morning or yesterday morning. They had it on there. It was like he was a kid, right? It was a kid.
It was a young man.
Yeah, young man. Yeah,
his name was Crispus Attucks.
Yes.
He was a sailor. He was an African American man. He wasn't a slave. He was a sailor. He was a free man, and he had the same dreams that others dreamed for a better life. And you could say he precipitated the Revolutionary War, which turns into the Declaration of Independence and then the Constitution. So it's true, we're all really in this together, even though there's been some terrible history in getting everybody to be part of the rights that are expressed in the Constitution. But we're all in this together, and that's a fact. And it's interesting that the first person who sacrificed his life, who gave up his life for a dream, is African American. And I'm very sensitive about that whole thing. As you know, I've talked to you about that. The James Byrd trial. You hear about in 1998 when James Byrd was killed in Jasper, Texas. That was called the crime of the century. I tried those first two cases, along with the Jasper DA, his assistant, and one of my assistants, the first two who received the death penalty. I'm not a big fan of the death penalty, but I'm certainly a terrible opponent to harming someone because of their race. And that would the scales of justice were way out of place because of those actions. And we had a mess to clean up, and I was very proud to be part of that. I remembered my boss, the U.S. Attorney. I was the chief of the criminal division for the Eastern District of Texas. I was in the U.S. Attorney's office for 20 years as a federal prosecutor, and he called me into the office Monday morning, and he goes, "John, get in here." And Mike Bradford, a wonderful man. He's deceased now, but great lawyer. He never had that sense of urgency. So I go in, he goes, "Sit down." I sat down, and he goes, "Miss Reno, John Stevens is here." And I go, "Janet Reno." She doesn't call us. She calls the president of the United States. The attorney, she calls the president of the United States, not me, And she goes, "Something terrible has happened in Jasper. John, I want you to get the FBI, get all the resources you need, go help those people and see that justice is done." And I literally almost stood up and, "Yes, ma'am," because she was that kind of a lady, no nonsense lady, but strict by the book and believed in all those attributes and ideals of, and I was very proud to, "Yes, ma'am, whatever the orders are." Dan Rather, it was such a unique case. Dan Rather did his CBS evening news from the Jasper County Courthouse during that whole trial. I mean, it was. In fact, I wrote an article on it last year. It was the 25th anniversary, like the blink of an eye. But I've been blessed to be a part of history in using my efforts to try to ensure that the Constitution is actually handled in the right way and the rule of law prevails. And so we stay busy.
All right. I'm sorry.
Give me some math questions.
I didn't think that was going to be in front of your face. I'm doing a drawing. I did not win the drawing. I just made
we didn't win the drawing.
I don't even know what y'all are doing back there, but
I'm doing
the screens are moving around.
Yeah, I know.
This screen.
I don't know what I did.
Back and forth.
I'm going to give away a T-shirt really quick, and then this is the question I need you to think about while I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a depressing question, so we're going to do an exciting thing. Lily Smith, and she paid. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, everybody. I can't even keep track of what you guys are doing, and I will thank you individually later. You're amazing. Okay, Judge Stevens, do you believe that the punishments for child-related crimes are really stiff enough? They think that they should be double, as victims are helpless. Got the memo? You get a T-shirt. You're going to pick which one you want. Let me know, and I will have it sent to you. Congratulations and thank you. Okay, sorry.
Did you get the question, Judge?
Yeah, do I have the memo or is it the
other? No.
So your question is, are punishments stiff enough for child-related crimes? Like the one you just had that was...
They are aggravated, dealt with as aggravated cases. They generally have a higher punishment range in Texas and in the federal government as well.
The question is,
for crimes for children. But also crimes for elderly, crimes for those who may be handicapped, those children. those are obviously the legislature and Congress have had wisdom to know that certain people should be protected more, and then harming, they're more vulnerable to harm, and people who take advantage of that vulnerability should pay a higher price.
Great. Everybody in the chat has been amazing.
You
My
all have been
beautiful
very
wife
generous tonight,
has been
celebrating this
amazing.
day with us. Judge Stevens, I am so thankful that you came on. Thank you so much. I
You
appreciate
do
your
me the
time.
honor. Thank you.
Oh, it's
And best wishes to you, your program, and all the people who are viewing and listening. May God continue to bless the United States of America.
There we go. And let's sign off with that. All right, everyone.
all right.
I'm going to sign off with the video.
Thank you
I will
guys.
see you all soon. Judge Stevens, you're amazing.